Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest on the cold weather that is going to be arriving over the coming days. By around Monday, Tuesday time, all areas are going to be in a very cold Arctic air mass, and we are going to be seeing quite widespread falling snow. From the latest runs we'll have a look at today, including all of their precipitation charts, you'll be able to see that there is a lot of snow from these models. It is a very unstable but cold sort of pattern coming next week. So if you are disappointed with any snowfall so far this year, it's looking likely most areas will see some sort of winteriness come next week. Now, it's not going to be one of these bitterly cold spells where temperatures don't get above freezing. It's going to be quite a messy picture. There is going to be fluctuating air masses, and that is what is causing the increase in snowfall compared to the colder spells we've had earlier in the winter. So there will be some rain, there will be sleet, there will be snow. It's going to be a whole mix coming next week, and we already do have snow and ice warnings issued, as we'll have a look on the weather warnings in a minute. But we'll run, as I said, through all the various charts, looking at the precipitation. And of course we'll look at the temperature as well in the UKV, as it is going to be very mixed. But the one thing I really am picking up on having a look at these charts is all of them have quite a lot of precipitation around, with a lot of that falling as snow, especially towards the early to middle of part of next week. Towards the end of the week, things become uncertain as Atlantic weather systems do move in. That could introduce moisture to give major snow events, but it could also just bring in milder air, and we do go milder, even warmer perhaps, with some very long tracked southwesterlies towards the end of the week. But of course we'll look at that in the video as well. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well. The link's in the description. As you start on the live radar, you can see it's a very dry day today. I'm calling this around midday. It is very dry at the moment, but it is again pretty chilly. Slightly milder air masses aloft at the moment, so those temperatures are more towards average for the time of year at the moment, around that sort of 6 to 10 degree mark, and it's not as cold with that wind chill as well, those winds slightly easing. But this is because that high pressure is now moving to our north and our west, and bitterly cold air, which is now moving into parts of Scandinavia, as you can see here, with some very unstable flow with heavy snow showers. That sort of air mass and that sort of pattern is slowly now moving towards the UK. It'll arrive in northern areas through Sunday into Monday and reach all areas by around late Monday into early hours of Tuesday. As that does form, as we'll see in a minute, a low pressure system could form in that unstable flow, and some of the runs have a spell of rain turning to snow quite widely through England and Wales, perhaps through the late hours of Monday into the early hours of Tuesday. Big uncertainty with that, though, between the positioning of any of that sort of low pressure system developing. But if we do look at the temperatures right now, as around midday, you can see slightly more yellows appearing, and the wind chill is not as much. So it's still a generally average to maybe slightly below average day, but nothing too bad out there. Still probably need to wrap up warm with a coat, maybe hats and gloves if you're in the coldest areas, especially with elevation, but it's not too bad out there. But as I said, it's going to be turning a lot colder within the next 48 to 72 hours. Now, if you look at the weather warnings, we do now have snow and ice warnings issued about 3 or 4 days in advance now for Monday and Tuesday. It's the classic preliminary warnings we do get for northern and eastern areas with this northeasterly wind. So I do expect these to be more widespread eventually and more localised, but this really is for that convection, which is pretty much bang on now. The convection coming in from the northeast with heavy snow showers, especially for coastal areas, but also drifting inland. That looks pretty much guaranteed. It's all the frontal snow and all the little systems that we've got uncertainty with. So we do look at these snow and ice warnings. Snow showers are likely to cause some disruption to travel, with a small chance of more widespread disruption for some for the whole 24 hours of Monday here. Look at the further details, 5 to 10 centimetres over northern Scotland, perhaps more persistent spells in other areas, and that could bring 2 to 5 centimetres to low-lying areas. There could be some ice as well, and of course in the daytime with the strong sunshine we could see that snow melt and then refreeze overnight. That is one issue we do get, especially through late winter into early spring, where it is very difficult to get snow cover to not melt at all during the day. So it normally does get a bit of melt, even when those temperatures are very cold, and then it refreezes overnight, giving even more of an ice issue. Now we can see it's high impact and low likelihood, because there still is very big uncertainty with positioning of the snow showers and the intensities. But as we'll see in the models in a minute, because of the time of year, because we've got that very strong sunshine, we've got a very cold air mass going over the much warmer sea surface temperatures, even though they are cold, they're sort of around 7, 8, 9 degrees, it's almost 20 degrees milder warmer than the air temperatures. All of those combined together gives very beefy showers this time of year. I said yesterday, you compare it to the beast from the east. Again, it's not the same thing. Nowhere near as cold, probably will be nowhere near as disruptive as that, but it's that similar flow with very unstable cold air masses going over much warmer sea with a strong sunshine. It's going to give those sort of big beefy showers over the coming week or so. Now to Tuesday, we do have another widespread snow and ice warning, a bit more widespread this morning, and again for the whole 24 hours of Tuesday. Frequent snow showers causing further disruption in places. I wouldn't be surprised to see an amber warning issued, perhaps later this weekend for this. In some of the places, again, it's high impact, low likelihood. Again, 5 to 10 centimetres possible, maybe 2 to 5 centimetres locally, and again, icy stretches through the night. So again, your bog standard snow and ice warnings a good few days in advance. I do suspect these will change. I do suspect we will see upgrades. I do suspect we'll see these more widespread as well when we do have some of the other features a little bit more with a bit more certainty. So make sure you keep up to date with these warnings as they will likely change, probably through the weekend. I doubt we'll see any more changes today, but probably through Saturday, Sunday, we will see some changes to these and some upgrades and positioning changes as well. Now, if we do go over to the UKV and have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. Now, we can only go out to 5 days here, so really only getting to sort of Tuesday, Wednesday time, where there is still a lot of areas of interest, but we could see some big weather fronts later in the week, and that's why we'll have a look at the other runs in a minute as well. So if you do run through, you can see it's very dry at the moment, and it will continue to be very dry through the rest of the day. As we head into Saturday, you can see showers start to form in the far northeast. That's the first signs of a change coming in from the northeast as that wind direction does shift. Now, through Saturday, we won't see too much. Maybe a few showers in a few places. Again, nothing too significant, just a few showers down the east coast. However, as we head through Saturday night into Sunday, the shower activity, it starts to increase. And then as we head through Sunday into the afternoon, shower activity really starts to ramp up. Mainly only snow over the higher ground at this stage, but become more widespread through Sunday evening into Monday. And then watch what happens through Monday. Widespread snow through Scotland and northeastern areas, and we see this area of precipitation start to organise through central and southern areas, perhaps an area of rain initially, before turning more to snow through the late hours of Monday into early hours of Tuesday. Again, big uncertainty with that. You can see in the north, though, big beefy showers getting quite far inland as well, and that's why we've got those yellow snow and ice warnings. But we could also see warnings issued for this area of precipitation further southwards. But at this stage, there is huge uncertainty with the positioning of it and the timings, as that will decide whether it's snow or rain or sort of a mix. As if that cold air does undercut, we could see quite a big period of snow with this as it does eventually clear. And then as we head into Wednesday, you can see weather fronts starting to approach, a bit of a channel low pushing in, and this could give more widespread snow through southern areas. And again, positioning and timing of this will make all the difference. This slightly further northwards, we can see widespread snow. Further southwards, more showers, but less persistent precipitation. Again, you can see the upper air temperatures bitterly cold, but we can see that milder end nudging into the south, giving that risk of heavy snowfall. And again, look at the dew points, the difference between 10-degree dew points out to our southwest and minus 10-degree dew points inland. Again, just showing you the collision of air masses, and that's why there could really be some very heavy snowfall round at times next week if we do see this position where we see that snow falling over parts of England, Wales and the Republic of Ireland. Now, if you look at the temperatures, again, it's not going to be all too bitterly cold in terms of compared to what we saw previously in the winter, simply because it is March, where we've got a lot more sunshine, warm sunshine around, and it will keep those temperatures probably a few degrees above freezing. These sort of air mass, this sort of pattern in December, January time, it would be widespread ice days, but we won't be seeing that simply because, as I said, of that sunshine. You can see through this afternoon, widely sort of 5 to 8 degrees, maybe nudging up towards 9 or 10 in a few spots. And then as we head through tonight, could see a frost in areas with clear skies. Then as we head into Saturday, again, another chilly day, but nothing too cold again, 5 to 8 degrees, maybe 9 or 10 in a few spots. Again, average to below average for the time of year. But it really only starts to get cold through Sunday into Monday. And you can see through Sunday afternoon, widely 5 to 8 degrees, much colder in the northeast. Then as we head into early hours of Monday, pretty chilly, but nothing too crazy cold. But by Monday afternoon, widely below freezing in the north, maybe 8 to 10 degrees in the south. But as we head through the night, temperatures rapidly dropping towards freezing, with that polar front coming through. And for most waking up on Tuesday morning, it will be freezing out there. And through Tuesday, not getting much above 3 to 5 degrees. And you can see areas we have snowfall through parts of Southern Ireland and the south of England. It might not get much above freezing. Precipitation amounts and cloud will mean those temperatures won't get much above freezing in places, so it could be really quite cold over the coming weeks, or coming week, especially where we see that precipitation and cloud. But you can see even over the North Sea, temperatures around 1 or 2 degrees. Really is freezing cold. And then as we head overnight, look at that widespread temperatures down towards -5 degrees. Absolutely freezing cold out there. Could be some really low temperatures out there. And of course, you see that milder air bumping into that cold air, and that's where we could see some heavy snowfall. So we'll have a look at these long-range charts now. We'll start on the GFS. We'll run through what the pressure is showing, and then we'll have a look at the precipitation. As you'll be able to see, there could be some very interesting patterns over the coming week or so. So you can see the northeasterly winds coming in at the moment. You see this low pressure system develop. That could give an enhanced area of precipitation through Monday into Tuesday. That's aside from the polar front that does sweep through, giving perhaps some widespread snow in the south as well. That does eventually clear out into the North Sea and just gives us very shower outlook. And then you see the low pressure system slide to our south. Heavy snow there through Wednesday into Thursday. UKV is something similar to that. This would give widespread snow for most of southern England. Beyond that, eventually we see more of a southwesterly push in. And by the weekend, that snow rain line is shifted towards northern England, Scotland though. So this would more fall as rain for most areas. So the GFS does break down the cold spell, but we do see colder air wrap back around again for the early part of next week, so it's never too far away. Again, this has shifted slightly further southwards. Many more areas would be in the very cold air. We've got big uncertainty, as we'll see in the ensembles at the end of the video. Beyond that, though, it does go more westerly, so it doesn't look likely the cold spell will properly hang on for too much longer than the end of next week. Could be some lingering cold air, but we're not expecting any major blocking at this stage, not seeing any signs of that. So it does look likely to be maybe at least 3 or 4 days of very cold air, maybe as much as 5, 6 or 7, depending on the exact positioning of these approaching low pressure systems. Again, you can see the upper air temperatures very cold, but getting shifted away by the end of the week by that milder air mass. And you can see the rain snow line is through northern England. So there we'd be seeing very heavy snow. So if we do have a look at the precipitation charts, I know a lot of people will be interested in seeing, we'll be able to see the rain and snow. We'll have a look at the GFS, the GEM and the ECMWF precipitation charts. And you'll be able to see as we compare them all, even at sort of the 3 to 5 day time frame, they are conflicting in the exact positioning and type of precipitation. Now, as we head into Monday, you can see the rain and snow starting to arrive. You can see that weather front in the south that does give quite heavy snow in places, especially through the Midlands, southern England, even into the London area through the early hours of Tuesday. And then you see those widespread heavy showers elsewhere. You see that low pressure system out to our east. That does come slightly further westwards. We can see some very heavy snow down that North Sea coast. Even then, we still do see some quite heavy snow. And then through the rest of the week, it does go slightly drier in the south for a time through Tuesday into Wednesday, but still heavy showers in the north. And then eventually, low pressure system bumps into that cold air. Look at that extremely heavy snow in the far south. And that eventually does clear, giving widespread dumping of snow through Wednesday into Thursday for eventually clearing, and then we see another weather front arrive, giving heavy snow initially, but before it does turn milder towards rain, and snow lingers further northwards into Scotland beyond that. Again, if we have a look at the snow depths chart here, you'll be able to see that we could see quite a lot of snow in places. 5 to 10 centimetres temporarily, though, I must say, because it will melt whenever we see sunshine. So we could see 5 to 10 centimetres in places here. We're not expecting anything too ridiculously, though. Too ridiculous, I must emphasise that, because of the time of year. But could see a proper snow event in places with this sort of pattern. Now, if you look at the GMs, see how that does compare. Again, northeasterly winds coming in at the moment, very cold, but look at that, the low pressure system, instead of developing out in the North Sea, develops over the top of us before pulling into the North Sea. That could give enhanced precipitation through Tuesday into Wednesday, for eventually low pressure systems do arrive, bumping into that cold air, giving snow perhaps on its leading edge before turning to rain by the weekend with westerly winds prevailing. Again, if we have a look at the precipitation charts for this, as we head through the early parts of next week, heavy snow breaking out, and where that system develops, in southern areas, we could see some very heavy snow on its back edge there. Very interesting seeing that through Tuesday into Wednesday. Similar to the GFS in terms of producing snow, but this will be a lot heavier and a lot more widespread. Heavy snow showers elsewhere, and eventually seeing more low pressure systems bump into that cold air through Wednesday into Thursday. Some heavy snow in places for eventually towards the weekend. See big low pressure system move in. Heavy snow for northern Scotland, but much milder air coming in with a southwesterly wind after that. You can see though, to the leading edge of these low pressure systems, there's still very heavy snow falling out in the North Sea and the North Atlantic. And again, this pattern shifted a few hundred miles further southwards, and we could see much more snow. So that's why we do have to take these charts with a pinch of salt, because very subtle shifts in their positioning can push that cold air much further southwards and give a lot more snow. If you look at the ECMWF now, just to compare that, again, a northeasterly wind coming in at the moment. That low pressure system does develop out in the North Sea, so the GM developing it over land, probably more in the minority, keeping us cold. Low pressure systems pushing into that cold air by around Thursday time, moving through, probably giving only snow in the north because it is slightly further northwards, and then eventually seeing that southwesterly pushing in. So all runs do have the cold spell ending around Saturday, Sunday next week, so sort of 5 or 6 days. Obviously, as we'll see the ensembles in a minute, some do hang on longer, and again, that will all make a difference between whether we see rain, sleet or snow. But the one thing I must say that I did say at the start of the video, all 3 of these runs are producing low pressure, bumping into that cold air somewhere across the British Isles and giving a dumping of snow. Now, if you look at the precipitation charts, you can see the snow arriving in showery form by Sunday into Monday, and could see some back-edge snow on this weather front, but not too as much as the GM and the GFS there. Elsewhere, heavy showers pushing in, and then could see a bit of a snow event in the south and southwest with low pressure bumping into that cold air. Again, though, for northern areas, seeing snow predominantly here because the system is slightly further northwards. As that clears through, more snow through northern England and Scotland, for eventually low pressure runs in once again, giving leading edge snow for turning things milder. So could see a lot of falling snow with this ECMWF chart, perhaps not as much settling because much more mixing of airs. Those temperatures probably won't be as cold, but it would produce still a lot of falling snow, a lot of areas seeing some sort of wintry precipitation over the coming week or so. As I said, all 3 main models are producing some big snow events, not all coinciding together, not all showing the exact same pattern, but very much producing some real big wintry events out here. Again, we can't say anything too much about any accumulations yet, simply because it all depends on the time of day and the exact air temperatures, but we can say, looking highly likely, many areas do see some falling snow next week. Now, after you finish by looking at the ensembles, you can see there still is pretty big uncertainty with the exact air mass, especially towards the end of the week. It's turning very cold, we see a slight bump in upper air temperatures there, and that's when that low pressure system develops, and that could give us some snow there as that weather front does move in, introducing even colder air. That arrives through Wednesday, Thursday, and then we see perhaps a rise in upper air temperatures, but some stay very cold, and this is when a low pressure system arrives from the southwest. Could give some very heavy snow, but if we're on one of these colder ensemble members, like the operational run, or on one of these milder ensemble members, it would give snow further northwards. And then we could see a slip down in upper air temperatures again, but look at the scatter as we head towards the end of next week. Huge scatter. You can see the majority, though, do get to the average in around sort of 8-9 days' time, but some being much slower with that, probably producing a lot more snow. Others being a lot faster with it, probably giving some transient snow, but predominantly rain in the south. So it is going to be very interesting over the coming days. You can see we've got a lot of cold air around and a lot of precipitation spikes. There is going to be falling snow for many next week. Again, you look at this new snow net spikes, a lot of snow net spikes appearing here. Again, not too consistent with each other, so still a lot of uncertainty, but we will have to just see with that. Again, the 2 meter temperatures are all over the place. Come next Tuesday, some are showing 9 degrees, others showing freezing. Again, all dependent on cloud amounts, precipitation amounts, and the exact air mass. But through sort of Monday, Tuesday next week, probably won't get much above 3 or 4 degrees from the looks of this. And you can see the dew points are freezing next week for a good 2 or 3 days. Some of them are slightly above freezing at times, the average, and that's because we've got some of these milder outliers or milder runs producing that milder sector with those low pressure systems, especially through Thursday next week. So it is going to be one of those. We have to keep a really, really close eye on it. Again, if we just finish by looking at the ECMWF ensembles, pretty similar, very cold for most of next week, but as we head towards Thursday, Friday time, could be a big milder sector there pushing in, again associated with a low pressure system that's likely to provide a big snow event. But then we stay mostly cold from the ensemble members, but again there's huge uncertainty, and this is all because of those developing lows moving in. This is just one of those scenarios where we could see a major snow event from this, or we could just see rain. It really is that much on a knife edge, and we're just going to have to keep an eye on what the models do show. I must emphasise though, I do think a lot of areas are going to see some falling snow next week, and it is going to feel really quite cold for at least 2 to 4 days, depending on exactly where you are in the country. So regardless of what happens towards the end of next week with these weather fronts, there's going to be a lot of snow showers around in the north and the east. We've already got weather warnings issued. It's looking highly likely we see areas of precipitation, rain, sleet and snow even in the south, with that initial weather front moving through and then areas of low pressure bumping into it. So yes, there is uncertainty with exact positioning, exact timings and exact intensities and types of precipitation, but it's looking highly likely now, pretty much guaranteed, it's going to be freezing cold. It's going to feel freezing cold. There's going to be snow around for many, at least falling snow, perhaps even excessive snow if we see it fall overnight. So make sure you do get your hat and gloves out, get your coat out and be ready, perhaps for some disruption come next week, as it is going to be cold and it is going to be really quite wintry out there next week. So anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure you stay tuned as we're going to keep you updated on those weather warnings and the precipitation charts. We haven't predominantly looked at mid to long range charts here, but over the next day or two we'll be able to have a look at the shorter range, which should be able to get the resolution, or has higher resolution, should be able to get these a little bit more accurate in terms of precipitation type and intensity. So that should be coming over the coming days. So make sure you stay tuned for that, and that'll give us a much better idea on the exact details of what could be happening next week. So as I said, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.